Good morning and welcome to this special presentation, which I've entitled 3 Secrets You Can Apply Now to Guarantee Post-Lockdown Success on the Golf Course. So not many days are left now before you can come out and play again. And I'm sure there is a pent-up eagerness rearing to get out. So while we just wait for a few more people to join us this morning, settle yourself down. You may want a pen and paper. There's going to be certainly one particular exercise we're going to do fairly early on in the presentation, which you may want to just make some notes on to some of the questions I ask. You could have a golf club near you as well if you'd like, because there will be a couple of movements we go through, which if it's safe to do so where you are, you may want that with you. It's not essential or necessary at all, but it may be something you would like to have with you. And we will start very, very shortly. So thank you for joining me today. I saw this video actually, which I'm going to quickly play, which made me laugh, which is probably how the golfers are going to feel. So let me just show you this to kick this presentation off. That's all the golfers running for the first tee on the practice ground. So hopefully you can see that. That did make me laugh. I thought that was very, very funny indeed. Okay, let me just bear with me while I bring technology. Here we are. Good morning. So welcome. If you haven't figured out, I'm Scott Cranfield, and I'm going to take you through this presentation this morning. So what my objective really is here this morning, my aim is to share with you some ideas that you can start applying now in the build up to going back out to play again. But also they're going to be things that are being relevant at any time. So you'll be able to use them at any time throughout your golfing career time you're playing. But the 3 I've particularly chosen for I think are really relevant. And what we're going to do is going to address 3 areas. And those areas are going to be your emotions on the golf course. And really, if you think your emotions really are what's responsible to a large extent for your temperament when you are out on the golf course, okay? So your emotions are your temperament. So we're going to look at a couple of things in that area that you can start thinking about now. One's going to be quite challenging, and you may not have thought about this before. And hopefully, as you go through the exercise, it will do wonders for your ability to control your emotions and therefore, as a result, your temperament as well. We're going to look at your body, which really is to do with your movement and your swing. Okay, I'm going to share some ideas. This is probably going to be the slightly longer part of the presentation. I'm going to share some ideas for you which will help prepare your body for going back to play again. Some of you may be swinging if you're fortunate enough in the garden to be able to do that. But this will help prepare the body and again, give you a bit of an insight into the importance of areas of your body if you really would love to swing the way you want to swing. And then we're going to look at your mind generally, so more what you might call the mental game. But we're going to look at a particular exercise here which can really help with confidence and self-belief. Okay, so that's what the purpose of that particular part is there. Now, if there are any questions that pop up during the presentation, you should find somewhere probably on your right-hand side of your screen, there's a chat box. By all means, go ahead, pop that question in. And as we get towards the end, I'll look at that and time allowing, I'll answer all the questions if there's any questions that come up. No problem if there's not, but if you'd like to add a question in, then go ahead and do that. So let's start with emotions is what we're going to start with here. And the area I'm going to address 2 areas here, but the area I'd like to start to address is what I call expectations. And specifically what I'm looking at here is unrealistic expectations. So let me just put this into context of general life, because I think if you get this, it's profound and can have quite a big impact on you. Whether we realize it or not, we all have certain beliefs and we all have certain expectations about the way we would like things to be and the way we think things should be. And that can be on other people. Those expectations can be on ourselves, can be on our golf game. It's a really easy context. If you're a parent, if you put an expectation on your child, let's say you've got a young child or children, and you have the belief or the expectation that they should always keep their room tidy, they should always be organized, they should always do their homework, they should always, help out in the kitchen, etc., etc. If you have that expectation, most parents would realize that's fairly unrealistic. The likelihood of that happening is pretty slim to not at all. But if you hold that as a belief and you expect that's what they should do and they don't do it, that will cause upset and frustration in you. Does that make sense? Because there's a mismatch. You're expecting one thing, something else happened. It didn't match your expectation. That gap is where the frustration comes in. That's where your temperament can change because your emotions have been affected. Now, that's no different on the golf course. If you have beliefs about the way you should be able to play the game, expectations about the way you should play the game, and you don't match that on the golf course, that's going to affect your emotions and therefore your temperament, which ultimately then affects your performance. Now, some of you may be immediately thinking, oh, but I like to think positive. I like to have high expectations for myself. I like to set myself high standards. And that is fine to a point, but it depends on the time scale of the expectation. So let me give you an analogy for that. So let's say, for example, let's say you're an 18 handicap golfer. Let me just do this here. Change color so it stands out. So let's say you're an 18 handicap golfer, okay? And over a 5-year period, okay, I say to you, you are going to make it all the way through to scratch after 5 years. You go, wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm pleased with that. 18 to scratch. Great achievement over 5 years. But what if I say to you, but during that journey, that path of going from 18 to scratch, you're going to experience a lot of ups and downs to get there, okay? Would you still want to do it? Well, pretty much everybody's going to say, well, yeah, that's no problem because that's realistic. And actually, over a 5-year period, to get from 18 to scratch is a terrific achievement. And if there's ups and downs along the way, no problem. Now, think about that for a moment, because that's over a long time frame. Here's what tends to happen for many of us on the golf course is we have the ups and downs in a shorter time frame, sometimes over just a few holes, sometimes over 18 holes. And when we hit the down, in other words, things don't go the way we expect, that sometimes creates the emotional reaction. That emotional reaction then leads to that unbalanced mind, which means we don't make decisions as well, which means that that would affect our performance. And so what I'm saying to you here is that when we hold an unrealistic expectation of ourselves, when our performance doesn't match what we want and we react in the short term, it's then going to affect our performance in the short term, which then stops us from this longer term prospect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through an actual exercise. I'm going to demonstrate an exercise and ask you to go through it with me as I go through it at the same time. And it's been one of the most powerful ones I've ever created and used with people to help them stop and reflect and think from a conscious level, actually, what I expect for myself on the golf course is really way out of kilter to where I am. Now, why is that important? Come back to the point I mentioned earlier. It's okay to be positive to a point, but actually positive thinking can be just as damaging as negative thinking if we are pushing ourselves beyond what is reasonable in the short term. Because when we do that, we get this mismatch and then we create the emotional reaction. When we do that, that affects our performance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through an exercise, and based around certain simple statistics we have when we play the game of golf, such as how many fairways we hit, how many greens we hit, how many putts we take, etc., etc. And I'm going to ask you to go through the exercise yourself. Now, I will say that I will I'll show you a couple of forms on the screen in a moment. I will give you those as well. So don't worry about having to write everything down. I will make sure you get those. We'll either find a way they'll be in the chat as I go through somehow, or I will just email them to you. One way or another, I'll make sure you get those forms. So don't worry about that. So let's go through. And here's what I prepared. So what we're going to do is we're going to take. We're going to take simple statistics in the game. How many fairways you hit, how many greens in regulation you hit, how many putts you have, etc. So let me give an example. I'm going to play something out so you get the idea. This is not scientifically verifiable. You can't say that what I'm going to show you is a calculation, but it will give you, I think you'll get a strong enough sense and you'll be able to understand it for yourself. So let's say I'm an 18 handicap golfer, okay? So let's use the 18 again here, okay? And let's say, so the question is, how many fairways, and I put here 12, because depending on where you play, depending on how many par 4s and 5s there are, where there's a fairway to hit. If it's a par 3, then that doesn't count. So let's say this course here, there's 6 par 3s, so therefore there's 12 fairways to potentially hit. So as an 18 handicap, the question to me and the question to you is, how many fairways do you expect to be able to hit in a round of golf? How many fairways do you think you should be hitting? And I say, well, okay, I'm not too bad a driver of the ball. I'm going to say 8. 8 fairways. Now, how many greens in regulation do you think you should hit? So I say to myself, well, I'm 18 handicap. Well, I should be able to do every other one. That seems reasonable. So I'm going to say 9 greens in regulation. How many putts in a round of golf? Well, we know that if we have 2 putts per hole, that's 36 putts in a round. So I'm actually okay at putting. I'm not amazing. So I think I'm slightly better than 2 around. I definitely hold the odd putt. So I'm going to say 34 putts. Okay. Now, penalty recovery shots. How many penalty shots is acceptable to me in a round of golf? Now, many of you be thinking, well, I don't want any penalty shots. But 18 handicap, how many is acceptable? I'm going to say, well, actually, I'm going to say 3. Now, penalty recovery. So that could be where you've hit a ball. You haven't actually had to take a penalty shot, but you can't really advance it either. You've got to chip it out sideways. That type of thing. So it could be an actual penalty shot where you've lost the ball, where you're dropping a ball from out of a bush, out of a ditch, whatever it may be. But you get the idea. I'm going to say, well, I think 3 times a round, that would be okay, or that would be acceptable. I don't like it, but it's acceptable. How many times should I get up and down? So in this situation, say, well, I think I'm going to hit 9 greens in regulation. So there's 9 opportunities to get up and down. Out of those 9, I think 3 would be fair to say. And then just as one statistics in measurement, it's not going to affect the score per se at the moment, but just you'll see why I'm saying it and asking it in a moment. How far should I be hitting my driver? Well, I think I'm quite a good driver of the ball, so I'm going to say 240 yards. There's some of you again where you think, wow, I hit it a lot further than that, etc. It doesn't matter, it's fine. Now, what we're going to do now, so first of all, my first question to you, if you look at that and you think this person's 18 handicap, does that seem reasonable? And you might be thinking, yeah, it doesn't seem unfair. It seems a reasonable statistics to be able to be predicting. So again, you can be doing this as I go through it as well. You'll get the form. You can do it afterwards as well. I'm now going to try and convert this. This is somebody's expectations. I'm now going to try and convert that into a score. You'll understand how this works. So it's quite simple. They've hit 9 greens in regulation. We know they're having, on average, no more than 2 putts a hole. So we can safely say, well, for those 9 greens in regulation with their 2 putts, they have had 9 pars. Okay. Now, we also know that they're going to get up and down 3 of the times they miss the greens. So on that basis, we can still use the 2 putts. We say, well, there's 3 more pars there. Okay, so there's 3 pars there. Right? Now, let's go to the penalty shots here. We know there's 3 penalty shots. So really they're double bogeys, aren't they? So let's say we've now got 3 double bogeys. Okay. Now, here's the slightly tricky one. 34 putts, which means on average they've had 2 single putts. But we've already used 3 single putts for the up and down. That therefore means in there is a 3 putt. That makes sense, all right? So we now got to say, well, that 3 putt really is a double bogey again, because they didn't hit that green in regulation. So we have another 1 double bogey. So we've now played 12, 15, 16 holes. It leaves 2 holes. Well, by definition, those really should be single bogeys. So let's now add that up, okay? I'm going to do that in a red here. So we've got 12 pars, 3 double bogeys, that's 6 over, another double bogey, 8 over, and yes, so we've got 4 double bogeys, 8 over, and 2 single bogeys, 10 over par, okay? So 10 over, okay? Now, think about that for a moment. Here is a golfer going out and playing, an 18 handicap golfer, but with a subconscious expectation that really they should be going around in 10 over. We know they're not doing that. because otherwise they'd be 10 handicap. And you're going to see some statistics in a moment to give you an idea of what the average is for each handicap. So whatever your handicap, you're going to get an idea of roughly what the averages are for that standard. Can you now see that every time, this is in their psychology, this is in their subconscious mind. And when you understand about the mind, you realize the subconscious mind is what drives you. Your subconscious mind is making decisions 880 milliseconds faster than you can consciously decide. So when something happens to you on that golf course, that down bit, your subconscious mind has this stored in it because that's your expectation. We've just drawn that out and it's in there. Whether you think it's not in there or not, it's in there. We've just drawn that out. And now you go, wow, I've had this mismatch all happening subconsciously. It's not, the way I've just hit that shot, the fairway I've just missed, the green I've just missed, whatever, is nowhere near my expectation. And bang, we have this gap and we get upset. And that temperament change can then affect the performance generally of your golf. That's why this is really, really important to try and understand that. Okay, so now let me bring up now, I'm going to bring up some average statistics for you to be able to see. All right, so let's just come back here. So let me just flick through to, so that's the chart there, by the way, that you're going to get. So there's a few more questions on it than I've just asked you, but that's the chart you're going to get. Now, let's look at this one here. So this gives you an average of, for each standard pretty much. So you get a sense. So let's go to the 18 handicap. Again, you'll get this, so don't worry about having to read it all now. So this an 18 handicapper, average 18 handicapper across the country would hit fairways and semi-rough 40% of the time. So in my example here, there was 12, that would be 5. So this made-up character was predicting hitting 8. Okay, so they were much more above that standard. Their length was 100. Their length was 240. Their length, the average is 185. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Not relevant necessarily to our score, but it's interesting. Greens in regulation. Now here's a big one. The average for an 18 handicap is 3. This person's thinking they're going to hit 9. Can you see how some of that frustration is going to creep in? That's a huge mindset shift. So that means that potentially every time they're missing a green, they're getting upset with themselves because in their subconscious is the belief, I should have hit that green. Okay, and that's when we get this judgment on ourselves in the short term. The judgment in ourselves affects our concentration, affects our confidence, and that affects that long-term goal. Because actually, this is a really important saying, it's worth writing down. We overestimate what we will achieve in the short term, but we always underestimate what we can achieve in the long term. Let me say it again. You overestimate. There's a tendency to overestimate what you'll achieve in the short term. That's this unrealistic expectation. You're overestimating. But you tend to underestimate what you'll achieve in the long term. And providing you set a plan and you work slowly and steadily and don't have the reactions in the short term, you will make progress. You'll keep progressing and progressing and progressing. And you'll probably be surprised how far you can go in 5 years' time. That's why this is important. So I'm going to give you a little, potentially an idea of a plan at the end of this, but let's just keep going. So the greens in regulation is a huge part. Now, we've got two up and down factors here, sand saves and par scrambles. Pretty much, you might say, running at 10%, so 1. Well, maybe 1 to 2. Well, we were at 3 here, up and downs and 3. So a little bit different, but not radically out. Putts for 18 handicap, 35. Okay, well, this person said 34. So that's again, it's fairly similar. Penalty strokes, 1.8. Now, interestingly, we said 3. So this particular person was predicting more penalty shots. Now, why is this important? It doesn't matter if your own personal stats are slightly better than some of the ones in your level category here. But what you can do is you can use this and go, right, okay, actually, here's a plan. Let's say I am off 18 handicap. I'd like to get to scratch. Well, the first job from 18, let's say, is just to get, let's say 14 would be a stretch. That's a massive achievement still, but just to get to 14. Well, you can look at 14 and say, right, but actually, I already hit the ball 206 yards. So I can tick that box. Greens in regulation. Now, this is why it's important. You've got to be truthful with yourself. You've got to keep some statistics. You might go, actually, yes, I'm only hitting 3. Right. How do I hit more greens in regulation. So the follow-up question now is, what is my plan? Well, if you think about the golf course you play, you might say, well, do you know, I consistently miss, I'm just going to make up a number here, the 4th green in regulation. I consistently miss that. But actually, when I look at it, it's because I'm never on the fairway there. And I could come down a club, I could hit a 3-wood off the tee, or I could hit an iron off the tee, get in the fairway and improve my chance of hitting that green. So the idea of this is to get you to become more conscious of the way you play. If it's important to you to be able to improve your golf and to play to a better handicap, a higher standard, a lower score, then you're going to have to give a bit of conscious thought, a bit of a plan. Well, the starting point is, where am I now? Let's be honest with where I am now. Once I know where I am, then I can use something like this table to go, right, well, I'm already in certain categories, I'm already there. I already have some of what a lower handicapper has. But there's going to be a gap somewhere. It might be in your putting. You might suddenly realize, actually, I'm taking 40 putts in a round. Right, what can I do to improve that? Well, I never practice it. I don't have a lesson on it. You know, I've never thought about it. Right, let me go and deal with that in a targeted way. Because it is very easy to get caught up on just the hitting of the ball and to miss out some of these short game areas, as an example. So I hope you're getting the sense here, the importance of actually taking the time to become conscious of where am I now? I use the analogy very often of the satellite navigation systems in a car. They're amazing. You can program in the address and invariably it will take you exactly now to that address. But if that satellite navigation system doesn't know where you're starting from, it's useless. It will never get you to where you want to get to. And so the first point for this is actually, where am I? So I'm encouraging you to start keeping some very, very simple statistics of your own so you know where I'm at. Okay, now you may even through memory, before you get back out to play again in a week or so's time, either through memory, you may be able to go back and be able to work out some of that if you haven't already done it. But I encourage you to do that, find out where you are, then use this table as a guide, to help you create a plan of where you're going to fill that gap in. And then start to act that plan out. Does that mean changing your practice? Does it mean changing your course management? Does it mean having lessons in a certain area of the game? What does it mean? But then go ahead and stick to that plan. Okay, so that's the first point there. So let me I'm going to pull this away here again. Now, let me go through a second part of emotions. I hope that makes sense. Let me go to this part now. This is a really easy one to apply. Your emotions are affected a lot by your breathing. They're affected a lot by what's going through your mind. But one can't help but to affect the other. You're entwined. There's the HeartMath Institute do some great work and research on the power, if you like, of the heart. The electricity your heart creates is 60 times greater, has 60 times more amplitude than what the brain creates. The magnetic field that your heart creates is 100 times greater than that what your brain creates. So your heart is an incredibly powerful organ, but we don't give it much attention. There's a saying that where attention goes, energy flows. Where attention goes, energy flows. If you place your attention on your heart, and you learn to focus on breathing through your heart, what the heart does, because it's the most powerful organ, the heart then starts to bring all the other systems, including the brain, in line. And when it does that, it creates coherence. So coherence is basically when all the systems of the body, the brain, the heart, all line up and are working as one. When you do that, you'll function far more effectively. Your decision-making process will be better. Your concentration will be better. You'll have less brain noise going on, less distraction in your mind. And it's really easy to do. Every single person can do it with just a little bit of practice. So the exercise is very, very straightforward. The exercise is simply to focus on the area of your heart. Put your attention in the area of your heart and focus on feeling like you're breathing in through the area of your body and exhaling, breathing out through the air of your body. Now, I add one thing to it. You want those breaths to be of a consistent, balanced order, meaning if you're going to breathe in for the count of 4 seconds, breathe out for the count of 4 seconds. Don't make them variable, make them consistent. That's another way to help bring the mind and body into balance. So by placing your attention on the heart, energy flows there. That starts to bring an order to the rest of your body. That creates coherence. It brings everything in line. It will improve your focus, your concentration. You'll be more coherent. You'll be calmer by doing that. So it's something you can be doing now. So the first exercise is something you can be doing now and get in preparation. This exercise you can learn to do every day. Maybe do it first thing in the morning, last thing at night to get into the habit of doing it. Put your attention there, even if you have to put your hand there, and practice breathing in and out at the same time. So do it with me now. Whether you're sitting or standing, put your hand on your heart just to help bring your attention there. If it helps to close your eyes, do so. Focus on breathing in for the count of 4. Now breathe out for 4. And you just practice that again. Do it one more time. Breathe in for 4. And breathe out for 4. One more time, actually. Breathe in for 4. And breathe out for 4. Keeping your attention on the heart the whole time. So feel like you're breathing in and out through your heart. I don't know about you, but I feel calm already. I should do this before I start. So, but in all seriousness, I hope you grasp there the power the heart has in its electric field and its magnetic field. It's the most powerful organ you have. Put your attention there, breathe through it. Now you can use it on the golf course. You practice it at home, but now use it on the golf course. If the first tee is a challenge to you, you use it in preparation of the first tee. If a pressure putt is a challenge to you, use it in that situation when you're preparing for that putt. You just bring your attention there. The more you train yourself to do it, the more you're going to be able to access that and use that. This technique, HeartMath Institute, have worked with just about every level of performance you can imagine and every sport and every discipline. It's been in golf for a long time. Many golfers use it with great success. And it will help to balance you out. Okay, so that's number 2. All right, now, let's get on to, again, any questions that pop up, just throw them into the chat box. Let me just move this now because we're now going to come on to, in fact, I'm going to leave that just in shot because I might need it for one part. Let's come on to the body and let's start to look at preparing your body for when you get back and play and giving your body the best chance of swinging the way you want to swing. You're in the golf swing. Every joint, muscle, tendon is involved in a good golf swing. When you can learn to move them well, you end up with a fluid, rhythmical swing. If certain parts of your body are unable to move in the way they're designed, that would affect your rhythm, it would affect your coordination, affect your timing. Now, the reality is all of us probably have some form of restriction somewhere. So don't worry, it's not a case that you have to get your body in perfect order in order to be able to swing the golf club well enough to hit the ball well. That's not the case at all. We know, thousands of examples where people have restrictions, injuries, and they can still time that. That's the wonderful thing about the human body, which actually is a really important point because the final exercise I'll give you in this little session will be to do with that, being able to learn how do I get the most out of the body I do have. But before we go there, I want to wake up your body, in particular your spine, to be able to do what it needs to do in the golf swing. So the posture is where we're going to start because your posture is an easy one to think about. So let me just come out here a little bit further. I'm wired up, so I don't want to get too far. Your posture is a relatively easy one to think about because most people think of posture and they immediately relate to, is it a nice upright posture where everything is fairly stacked up? Is it a slouched posture, which is maybe more common rather than, sometimes people have a swaying forward posture. So the posture is really important. It's important because it affects where the weight is distributed on the feet. Depending on where the weight is distributed on the feet, that has an impact on how well you can move because I think there are something like 30 odd joints in the foot. If the weight is not being used through them correctly, that affects every joint above and affects your ability to move. So your posture affects the weight distribution. Your posture affects the shape of the spine. And if the spine is not shaped neutrally, its ability to rotate and turn is affected. And the posture affects you from a level perspective in terms of, if your posture is this way or this way, then your pelvis, your shoulders, all those sort of things, your knees start to go out of alignment. So the posture is really, really key. Now, many of us are living our lives in cars, at desks, that sort of thing. Okay, many of us are living our lives there. And that, therefore, our bones start to myelinate, start to form in maybe not an ideal position, and that can affect our movement. Through my experience and working particularly with two particular gentlemen at Anatomy in Motion, I've learned that actually we can quickly learn to re-access certain parts of our body. And what our subconscious brain is doing all the time is figuring out, when we're trying to make a movement, is figuring out what's the most efficient way of me doing this, and partly, how do I do this without being in pain? So if you've had an old injury somewhere, sometimes you've learned to move or avoid that part of your body because it creates discomfort for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an exercise here that I learned through Anatomy in Motion, which has become one of the most important exercises for me I've ever done, and I train a lot of people with it. And what it does is it helps you to learn to go back into your spine and to re-access your spine, and to learn to take your spine through its capabilities and its movements. It's only when your brain suddenly realizes, oh, actually I can access this part of my spine, then you'll start to use that in your normal posture, in your golfing posture, and then in your golf swing. So in simple terms, if I could wrap this up, it's really saying that if your posture is moved away from neutral or from ideal, it's going to have an effect on your golf swing. I'm not going to say to you it's going to make you a better or worse golfer, but it's going to have an effect. For your general well-being and for the potential of your golf swing, I'm encouraging you to learn to get your posture back and find out where your body is capable of moving to. So the first exercise I'm going to give you is what's known as a cog exercise. And what it does is it helps you to open up the body and to get the spine moving through the way it should be moving. So I'm just going to change this again here a little bit, okay? Now, the way it works is this. I'm going to do it in a couple of demonstrations. From a standing position, you can do this laying on the ground. I wouldn't be able to demonstrate that properly to you here, but for many of you, you may find this easier laying on the ground with your knees bent, feet on the floor, okay? But what you're going to do is, from this standing position, is you're going to basically learn to extend your thoracic spine, which is here, lifting your rib cage up. And as you do that, if I just demonstrate first of all, what you'll see is that my nose effectively goes down. So I go from here, if you watch my nose goes down. At the same time as my nose going down, my belt buckle goes down as well. So just watch that again. As I extend here, so I'm extending out, you could say pushing my chest out, extending out, my nose goes down, my belt buckle goes down. Now the reverse, I'm going to let the chest come in, and as I do that, my belt buckle and my nose are riding up. Now, can you see why they're called cogs? Because when they move up, they work as a set of cogs. The two on the outside, the skull and the pelvis, the spine in the middle. So as the skull and the pelvis are doing this, the spine is coming out. As the skull and the pelvis are doing this, the spine is going in. They're cogs. Now, before I get you to do it, I want you to give why this is so important. Not only is it waking up your spine and it's essential for you. In the golf swing, the movement your body should be going through the golf swing is a cog. Your spine is rotating in the golf swing and bending, for me as a right-handed golfer, bending to the left. That's how the spine works. It's rotating to the right, bending to the left, at the same time as my pelvis turning and shifting to the right. So we've got these kind of cog effects going on in the spine. As if one's moving one way, another part is moving another way. Now, that's your ideal golf swing. That's your ideal movement in a golf swing. But if you're not training your spine and your body to do that, if you're not allowing your body to access its ability to do that, then of course it limits the chance of happening in the golf swing. So what I love to do is I love to help train you on what the body can do, and then forget about it when you go and play, because then you can play with a quieter mind. But so I love to train and leave, do the training on the practice ground at home sometimes as we're talking here, and then you can forget about it to some extent, leave it, because you've trained your brain to realize, let's say for example you had this posture. Now by doing this exercise, your brain starts going, wow, I've forgotten I could go there. So now when I set up to a golf ball, I can actually have this posture rather than this posture. And that will make all the difference to just about everything in your golf swing. It would affect your weight distribution, affect the power you can create, affect how far you can rotate. So it's not the easiest thing to show you on video here and not being with you in person, but it's that important that I wanted to go through. So now I'm going to so I hope you've grasped that how these cogs start to allow the spine to find all its different positions that it should have access to, that we don't always have access to because we've lived in one place for too long. But we need to give it access. Then when it has access, we'll be able to use those cogs in the golf swing of having all the different intricate movements to go on that we want, but without having to think about it. So with that explanation, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on just the exercise so you know how to do it properly. And this is why I want to keep this here. Imagine, this is the only way I can do it where you can see it. Imagine this is a wall, okay? So this is how I'm going to ask you to do it. You're going to stand against the wall, okay, with your heels just away from the wall, but let me just make sure I can do it, but with your back against the wall here, okay? So that's not a good angle. So let me just do this a minute. Right, that should work now. Okay, so here's me against the wall now. Okay, you can probably just about see that. So my head's a bit higher than actually the top of that. My head's against the wall, the base of my spine, my pelvis is against the wall, and my mid-back is against the wall. My heels are just away. The reason you want to do this is you want to stay, as I go through the cogs, you want to stay in contact with the wall. So again, think of skull and spine and pelvis going down. Yeah, thoracic coming out, but everything's on the wall. Then I go the other way. Okay, everything's still on the wall. Okay, can you see that? All on the wall. So that's the movement. Now, once you've done that, you then extend the movement by rotating the thumbs out. So as you extend here, let the thumbs then turn out. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to change that slightly. Okay, so as you extend here, you go into the cog, you then turn the thumbs out. Then as you go the other way, you turn the thumbs in. Now again, the reason the wall is there is because what I don't want you doing is, I want you to be aware if you've gone like that and come away too much. That's really where it tends to go wrong. So the wall is there to help you have that reference, okay? Now, as I said, for some of you, if you stand against the wall and actually you can't get your head anywhere near it, then actually do it on the floor. Definitely start on the floor. You do need the ability to be able to have your head there. If you can't do it, start on the floor and go through the exercise on the floor. There will be a replay of this, so you can go straight back to it. But in essence, again, the skull and the pelvis are going in one direction, okay? And then the spine is going the other direction. But if you use your thumbs as well, I think you'll start to feel that. You can see the chest coming out, chest coming in. As you start to do that, you'll start to feel that lovely, lovely movement going through your spine, which I think will make a huge difference. So that is a really important exercise. It's like a base. It's like a base fundamental. That's the equivalent of, is my grip okay? Is my setup okay? Those type of things. That's the equivalent of that in terms of how your body functions, how your body moves. So I'm going to see if I can get you a video for that as well, and I'll send you that as well. But hopefully that's been useful. Just do it every day. You don't need to do it for long, by the way. Just a few minutes, and be really mindful. Don't rush through it. just be very mindful as you go through and feel what's happening to the different parts of your body. One thing I'll add, by the way, as you go through the extension here, you'll feel your weight goes to the forefoot. As you go into the teenager slump, you'll feel your weight go into your heels more, okay? So you'll feel that shifting going on. Now, I'm going to show you now a quick video of Rory McIlroy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next part. So I hope you're finding that. I hope that's useful. So, right, let me just show you Rory McIlroy. It's a slow motion swing. Just watch the fluidity of the swing, okay? So what I'm going to want you to do, just focus on the rhythm. I know it's slow motion, but focus on the rhythm and the fluidity of this swing. And can you see how just about like each area of his body, I'm taking it back, each area of his body is moving. What have I done now? I seem to have stopped him. Hold on a second. Oh, here he goes. Each area of his body is moving different amounts. You know, how much the knees, the hips move. This is very, very slow motion, this one. But every bit is moving a different amount. And this is really, really important to grasp. That's where the rhythm comes from, by his ability to segregate and move different parts of the body to some extent independently. They are, of course, all working together, but meaning one part of the body can move more than another part of the body, okay? Now, let me bring you back in and I'll explain to you what we're going to do to help you to do that as well. Okay. So I already said to you that in the golf swing movement, the way it works with the cogs is that different parts of the body are going in different directions in different ways. That's how you create the rhythm. Again, through sometimes inactivity, through exercising the wrong way, we sometimes don't have the ability, or we've lost the ability to be able to separate different parts of our body. So I'm going to give you a really simple exercise to do here. And this is something you can do with me pretty quickly. And what it does is it's training your body to be able to segregate different parts of the body. Because if it doesn't realize, if your brain's running this show, your brain doesn't realize it has access to these different things and can move them independently, then it won't use them. I'm saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. So what these exercises are designed to do is to wake your body up again to what it needs to be able to do to help it in the golf swing. So what we're going to focus on here is basically the pelvis, the rib cage, and again, the skull or the neck. And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to learn to move each part independently, okay? Because we need to do that effectively in the golf swing. So what we're going to do to start with is going to say, hold your rib cage, your chest, and your head still, and just focus on just moving the pelvis underneath that. One way, and then the other way. So we'll show you from this position here. Okay, so move it from one way, and then the other way. If I just get my hand out of the way, you can see it. There you go. So you can see my chest is staying still, but my pelvis is rotating under. Once I've done that, then I'm going to keep the pelvis still, and I'm going to keep my head still and move my chest. So I'll put my hands here, there. Okay, so my pelvis is now still, my head is still, but now my rib cage is effectively moving around. And then finally, my neck and my head with the other two parts staying still. That's the first part. Now what you're then going to do, so you're going to practice moving each part independently. What you should be able to, what hopefully you'll find, is that your ability to move left and right is comparable. You may possibly find it's not. What you may find, for example, is that you can move your rib cage to the left here, but actually can only get it to there on the right. Or with the rib or the pelvis, you can move your pelvis a long way to the right, but you can barely move it to the left. If that's the case, don't force it. If there's any pain, obviously, don't do it. But just gently learn to, just by practicing and becoming aware, you should start to be able to move those parts. Because think about it, if in this basic motion, if you suddenly realize one side of the body doesn't move as much as the other, is that going to affect the golf swing? Of course it is. That's your body. And again, the final exercise we come to, you'll realize how that's going to help. So Go through the different areas. Pelvis, okay, so pelvis first of all, moving on its own, nothing else. Rib cage, moving, nothing else. Neck, moving, nothing else. Once you've done that, so why don't we have a go at that quickly together now? So jump up and we go through. So let's go pelvis first of all, okay? So try and be aware of everything above stays and just, if you've got a belt on, think of moving the belt underneath your rib cage. And be aware, do I move one side more than the other? Also be aware, do I feel my weight shifting on my feet to the side that I'm rotating towards? Because that's ideally what should happen. If it's not, encourage that a little bit. Then go to your rib cage now. So keep everything else still. Now you're going to move the ribs underneath there again. Be aware, is it the same both sides? Okay. And a little bit again, do you feel the weight shifting as you go from one side to the other, which should naturally happen? And then finally the neck. You won't feel so much of a weight shift here, but can I move my neck of a similar amount from side to side? Because everything's turning under the neck. If the neck's restricted, that's going to affect things below it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put that into a sequence. Now you're going to actually build it up so it has more comparison, if you like, to golf swing. So you're going to go, first of all, pelvis to the right. These two still. Head's going to stay still now. Rib cage to the right. And then finally, head all the way around. Okay? Now you can bring them back in segments as well. Now we're going to go to the left. Pelvis to the left. Rib cage to the left. Head to the left. Okay? Now for some of you, this will feel the equivalent of rubbing your tummy and patting your head at the same time. It will feel like, wow, that's really complicated to do. But that's the point. Getting you mindful enough, getting you in tune enough with this body of yours and training it, if you like, to be able to make some of these simple movements which are critical for your ability to have a flowing rhythmical golf swing like we saw in Rory McIlroy's, is essential. There's little point in working on the rhythm of your golf swing if, you can get benefit from that, so let me make that point clear. But if your body doesn't want to do what it is you're asking it to do, then you're better off helping your body do it away from the golf swing. So these really basic exercises to do here will really help you achieve that. So that's the next exercise. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So I'd love to be able to see you doing them. I'd love to be able to give you some pointers as to how well you're doing them. But as I say, if you want to recap on these, there'll be a replay available for those who have attended here, and you can just skip to that part of it and just watch that part. All right, now, the final part of the golf swing part. I'm going to give you an exercise which, if any of you have read my book, Intuitive Golf, you'll know there's a section there what I call the circle swing. It's an analogy I like to use in the golf swing. For many reasons. It's because it deals with how the mind works, and it also deals with how the body works. So in reality, in truth, your body moves subconsciously. When you make a decision, I'm going to use my little micro club here, okay? Because it's safer for me to do it here. When you make a decision to swing the golf club, okay, your subconscious mind, as I said earlier, is deciding what is the most effective way for my body to move to do that, making sure I'm in no pain, making sure I'm accessing the parts of my body that I know I can access. Which is why those exercises we've just done give your subconscious mind more access. It gives it more capability to tap into, which is why your golf swing can improve just by doing things like that. But what I want to do is give you a focus so that you can start to practice. So the circle swing, the purpose of the circle swing is this. You stop thinking about the body. You stop trying to do anything with the body. And you hand over the movement of the body 100% to your subconscious mind. In other words, you don't stand over the golf shot and say to yourself, here again a little bit. You don't stand over the golf shot and say to yourself, right, turn the right shoulder, pull the left knee forward, get the hips in. None of that. You hand over all movement of the body to the subconscious mind. All you focus on is the golf club head specifically. If I say to any of you, what shape of what shape does the golf swing create with the club head? Most people say, well, it's pretty circular. That's hence why I call it the circular swing. So the only focus becomes you set up to the golf ball in your posture, hopefully your newfound posture because your body can access more. And you simply focus on the club head and you say, right, I'm going to make a big circle with the club head around my body and let my body respond and follow that. So instead of my body trying to move the golf club, I'm going to focus my mind on the club head and just focus my mind on moving the club head through a circle around my body. My body is the center of the circle. Moving that club head around the circle and let my body respond to that. Now, some of you might be thinking immediately, but my body must move the golf club. Yes, of course it does. There's a really important thing here to grasp. Sometimes what actually happens is not what you want to focus on. You want to focus on something that allows what actually happens to happen naturally. And that's my point here, is we're going to hand over the movement of your body in the golf swing to the subconscious mind. Now, why is this important again, building up to coming out of lockdown? Well, there is a chance you might start now to be thinking about, oh, I've got to do this in the swing and get these parts of the swing right. If you haven't been hitting balls for a while, again, hopefully you're doing some of the exercises I've just given you, but your body may not be moving in the best way. So rather than forcing the body, let the subconscious mind, which knows your body better than you consciously know it, let your subconscious mind move the body through the swing. The way you do that is you give your conscious mind something else to focus on. When you set up to the golf ball, the golf club and the ball are on the ground. You are standing beside it. The golf club is already on the outer edge of that circle. All I'm asking you to do is to think about how big that circle is likely to be around your body and just let the club head stay on it as it goes up, as it comes down, and as it goes through. And as you do that, just let your body respond to the golf club's movement. When you allow the body to respond, it now simply means your subconscious mind has taken over the movement for you, which means less thought for you. It means less chance of injury. It means the high likelihood of better timing because you've allowed the subconscious mind to do it. Think about how amazing some of the things your body does subconsciously, like catching a ball. Think about somebody throwing a ball to you, calling your name, you look at it, oh, catching it. Invariably, you'll catch it. If you thought about the level of detail that goes on in your ability to do that, if you actually try to think about it, you would not even get your hand up in time to meet the ball. It is so complex. So please trust your subconscious mind knows exactly how to move your body to get the best result. But the problem we have very often is we want to get involved. We want to tell the body what to do. We want to move it and we want to control it. So again, if you're grasping what I'm saying here, what I've tried to do is to give you exercises to make your body more likely to be more efficient and more effective, like the COX, like the separation exercise. And then we're going to say, right, I've trained it, now I'm going to leave it. How do I leave it? I've got to stop thinking about it, but I need something to think about. That's where the circle exercise comes in. Focus your mind on the club head. Think of a circle going around the body. You're the center of the circle. Let the club head stay on that circle, going up, coming down, and going through. And the more you can keep your conscious mind on that club head, staying on that circle, and give all the movement of the body over to the subconscious mind, the more you can do that, the more natural your swing will be, the better the timing you'll have, the better coordination you have. And I said, very importantly, the less chance you'll have of injury. So that's the movement for the circle swing, which really helps you to be able to swing subconsciously. If you are in a position you can do it in a garden or even in the house, if you've got a small club like me, or you've got no lights to smash, then go ahead and start thinking about that. Get into a posture, allow your mind to focus on the club and allow the body to start responding. I think you'll like that feeling. Some of you may have already done it, particularly if you've read the book or had some lessons with our coaches. You may have already done it, but come back to it. It's a great starting point for when you come out of lockdown. So you don't go out to your first game overthinking, trying to do too many things. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense. Now, let me see where we're up to timing-wise here. Okay, all right, we're on the last part, which actually is the shortest part anyway. And And then I've just got one more thing to go through. Then I'll look at the questions and answers as well in a moment as well. So we're going to run over a little bit. I hope you don't mind. I hope you're finding this useful. I hope it's challenging you in some respects, because again, if you're not being pushed to learn something new, then things stay the same. And as Einstein said, definition of insanity is repeating what you did yesterday and expecting a better result today. Okay, so the final part I'm going to take you through here is we talked about the mind. This is about now developing confidence and self-belief. You're about to go back out and play. There is every chance there are some holes on the course you play that you love, and there are some holes on the course you do not like, maybe particular shots. And we start to build up an image in our head, and we start to repeat those good or bad holes in our mind. So we're going to use a little technique I refer to as imagery. Some people call it visualization. But first of all, let me give some context to the power of this. There are multitude examples, thousands of examples around the world of people using the power of their mind to do all sorts of amazing things. For healing their body, and even when surgery has not been, or has been said it won't even help, people have used the power of their mind to create a state in their mind to be able to change their body. A really lovely golf story is a ex-Vietnam prisoner of war, Dr. Major Nesmith. And he was a country club golfer in America and would shoot in the mid-90s. And he got captured and he was a prisoner in North Vietnam for 7 years in solitary confinement, a small box for 7 years. Many people didn't survive that. His way of surviving that was every day he would imagine himself back at his country club with his friends, playing a game of golf. And what he noticed was, as he did this every day, going through that round of golf, he noticed that he would start to be able to imagine himself playing the shots he wanted to play. Now, he was very wise as well, because he didn't just imagine a fantasy game of golf, of everything being perfect. He imagined himself recovering from different situations. He imagined himself dealing with different awkward shots and challenges. He saw everything. And he trained his mind every day. It was his way of keeping sane and dealing with the harsh circumstances he had to live in for 7 years. And he would just see himself playing well at the country club, in all weathers as well, by the way. He'd see all different climates and wind and all those different challenges that we get on the golf course. And here's the fascinating thing. When he was released 7 years later, undernourished, weaker, 7 years older, he went back and played a game of golf at the country club. Now, bearing in mind, he used to shoot in the mid-90s. His first game back, he shot 74. So there's your answer. Solitary confinement for 7 years and you'll be cured. But no, joking aside, it just shows you that he was able to train himself to do it. Now, that is obviously extreme, but it shows you the power of what the mind can do. He had a body now withered, older, malnourished, weaker, but he was still able to score better because his mind had trained himself to do that. So I'm going to take you through. Most people, I think, struggle to know how to use it. I'm going to take you through a closed eye exercise just for a couple of minutes only. We're going to focus on one hole on the golf course. We're going to stop, and then I'm going to take you through one particular shot and explain why I'm going to do that. And that's a really important one to do. So what I'd like you to do, first of all, is I want you to choose a hole on your golf course that is a neutral hole to you. It's not a good hole or a bad hole for you, but a par 4 hole. I want you to choose a par 4 hole, one that you can get on that green into, okay? Just the one you can get on the green into. Okay, I'm going to take you through no more than a couple of minutes, a very quick closed eye exercise. So understand this is a brief version. I've just actually created a longer version for people in mind of a champion, but this will be a really brief snapshot version. But if you like it and then you can extend it yourself. You can start to work on it yourself and expand it out. Once we've done that, I'm going to get you to open your eyes, and I'm going to do one last quick thing with you as well, which is going to be really interesting, I think, for you to do. So I should change my voice to be calmer and more relaxed. So what I'd like to do is to ideally be sitting down and just close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do with your eyes closed, I'd like you to use what we talked about earlier. I want you to place your attention in the area of your heart and take 3 balanced breaths in and out through your heart. So just become present with your heart. Place your attention on your heart. Keep your eyes closed the whole time. I'll tell you when it's time to open your eyes, and just put your attention on your heart and breathing in and out through your heart, somewhere around 3 to 5 times. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine yourself on the par 4 hole of your club that you've chosen, of your course. And I'd like you to imagine yourself now preparing to play the shot. You're choosing your club from your bag, and you're placing that golf club in your hands. And as you place the golf club in your hands, you feel your hands forming the grip that you want to use, and you feel that comfortable pressure, grip pressure that you're going to have between your hands and the golf club, a pressure that you feel that you can work with, not too tight, not too loose. Now just imagine yourself now looking down the fairway and imagining seeing the shot you'd like to play. Where's that ball going to land on the fairway? Just contemplate the possibility of that ball landing on the fairway where you want it to land. Now imagine yourself standing in your address position with the ball on the tee, feeling your connection to the ground through your feet, feeling balanced, feeling poised, ready to play your shot, feeling your posture is in the optimal place for you individually in order to play the shot. The grip pressure you've already got. Now imagine yourself moving that swing smoothly and freely through and hearing and feeling the connection of the strike you want as you then finish your swing and watch the flight of that ball going down the fairway, and you're still in your balanced finish position. I want you to feel what it would be like to stay in that balanced position while you're watching the ball fly down the fairway and land where you'd like it to land on the fairway. Okay, still with your eyes closed. I want you now to transport yourself to the ball on the fairway. Again, go to your bag, choose the club. Could be anything from a pitching wedge to a wood. It doesn't matter. Whatever's right for you in this situation. Choose the club. Again, stand, imagine yourself behind the ball, looking through the ball line towards the green and seeing where you want that ball to land. And I want it to be finishing approximately 15 foot from the hole. Nothing too unrealistic. I want you to imagine that happening. Now I want you to, again, take up your stance to the ball, get yourself comfortable, feeling your feet being relaxed but connected to the ground, feeling the posture that you know is optimal for you individually. And then with this ideal grip pressure, go ahead and feel this fluid swing. In particular, feel that strike and the sound of the strike as the club and the ball meet, and then that beautifully held finish position at the end of the swing. And you feel yourself holding that finish position, seeing the ball fly through the air and landing on the green and finishing 15 foot away from the hole. Now again, with your eyes still closed, let's transport yourself to the green now, and you've got your putter in your hand. And again, I want you to be standing behind the ball, looking at the putt that's in front of you. Not tensing up, just contemplating the idea that this ball is going to roll and drop into the hole. Now, you know your green. Is there a burrow on it from right to left or left to right? Is it downhill? That's for you to know. Just contemplate your ball tracking what it's going to do to go into the hole. Now find yourself over the ball, settled again, always feeling that relaxed connection with your feet to the ground. Balanced through your feet. Steady over the putt. And then again, feel that smooth putting stroke with that beautiful sweet strike of the ball against the putter. As you strike it, you hold your finish position again. You know the ball's rolling. You can see it rolling in your mind's eye. Then you look to see the ball dropping into the hole. And then you come out of your finish position. Okay, you can come back to me again now. Hopefully, by me going into that mode, my computer appeared to slow down, but hopefully it didn't affect you. So that's imagery. That's using your mind to put yourself in a situation where you practice feeling and seeing what you want. Now, they're both important. Feeling what you want and seeing what you want. That's important. So that's a hole we've made a birdie on. Now, what I'd like to do to finish with, before we go to the Q&A, and one other thing I want to share with you, is what I'd like to do now is we're going to take a hole we have a problem with. It could be a shot or a hole, it doesn't matter. It could be, by the way, actually, I don't mind how you do this. This could be like a putt that you always struggle with. It could be a tee shot, an approach shot, it doesn't matter. Choose a hole now, a shot, just a shot, one shot. Choose a shot that you really don't like, you feel uncomfortable with, you tend to mess up with. Okay, choose that shot. Now, what we're going to do again, you've chosen that shot. We're going to do a really quick version, but an interesting twist of the imagery. So when you're ready, close your eyes again. With your eyes closed, just take 2 or 3 breaths through your heart again, just to bring yourself connected back to your heart and to bring that coherence about between your mind and your body. Now, I want you to go to the place where this shot's going to take place, whether it be a putt, an approach shot, a drive, it doesn't matter. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to find yourself in the setup position for this shot, just the setup position. The ball is in front of you. You're not going to swing yet, just the setup position. Now what I want you to do is to imagine the ball, while you're in your setup, leaving you. You're not swinging or hitting it, leaving you and going to where you want it to be, whether that be on the fairway, on the green, or in the hole. It doesn't matter. Now imagine yourself moving through only to the finish position, the finish of the putt, the finish of the swing, doesn't matter. Let's assume a swing for it. Imagine yourself now holding the finish of the swing position. You haven't hit the ball, but the ball now you can see it on the green or on the fairway. And you are in your finish position. Imagine and feel yourself in that finish position, looking at the ball down the fairway or on the green. Now, what I want you to do in one smooth movement, I want you to rewind everything. I want you to rewind your swing back through the start position, back through the impact position, all the way back to the start. As you do that, the ball will leave where it is and come back and go back to the start position as well, on the tee or on the ground in front of you. Let's do that again. Go to your finish position only. Imagine the ball on the green, in the hole, on the fairway, wherever it's going to be. In one smooth movement, unwind the swing, take it all the way through impact, all the way back to the start, and the ball travels back and is in front of you on the ground again. Now, play it in normal motion. Swing normally, hit the ball, and let the ball go back to where it just came from, on the fairway, on the green, or in the hole. And open your eyes. Okay, did you see what we did there? That's called rewiring or scrambling. You have a hole, a shot that you don't like, that you struggle with, and we keep playing the same problem, it going in the trees, in the water, missing the putt, whatever it is. Through that exercise there, what you do is you break it down. You go from, here's my start position. That's where I want the ball to be, in the hole, on the fairway, wherever it is. Now let me go to the finish. Let me watch, look at, there's the ball there. Right, now rewind it all the way back to the start. There's the ball. Now actually go ahead and hit it in your mind and imagine it going there. By re-scrambling that way, you'll break the mental pattern that you might have held of that nemesis shot, that bogey hole, that bogey shot, whatever it is. By doing that, you'll rewire your brain to be able to play that more effectively. So again, a brilliant thing to do before you come out of lockdown, to sort of think about some of the challenging shots or holes you have and reprogram and rewire them in that way. Okay, does that make sense? So let's have a recap, because we've covered a lot of ground there. So we looked at your emotions. We looked at your expectations. If you hold expectations in your mind, which are completely unrealistic to where you are as a golfer, then you're going to create frustration. That frustration is going to affect your performance. So what you do is you become truthful with where you are, like the GPS navigation. So where am I now? Where do I want to get to? What's a simple plan to help me get there? What's the thing I can change and act upon immediately? Is it a lesson I need? Is it a change of the way I practice? Is it a change of strategy on the golf course? What is it? Then we looked at your heart math. We looked at the fact that the heart is the most powerful organ in the body. And if we learn to place our attention, our energy there, by doing that, then actually we bring every other part of the system, the body, the brain, in alignment with that. We're coherent, we're more balanced, we're more focused, we can think clearer. So that's going to be a big factor. Then we look to the body. We're saying, right, you haven't probably played for a while. You may not have even swung for a while. actually it's an opportunity to start to learn to access different parts of the body. The spine is the most important part probably for a golf swing. There's so much movement goes through there. In a golf swing, we're moving in different directions throughout the motion. The body needs to be able to separate itself to move independently to a point to be able to do that. So the cog exercise of using the thumbs and the body to work the body through the spine through different places so it can feel its new access. If the subconscious brain realizes it has the opportunity to go there, it will use it. If you don't ever train it, it won't use it. Then we talked about actually, rather than overthinking your golf swing, go to the circle swing, hand over the movement of your body to the subconscious, put your attention on the club head, focus on that club head moving through a circle, let your subconscious move the body for you. You do that, you'll have a more coordinated, better timed swing. It's a case of training it and leaving it, remember. That's what we want to do there. And then we looked at the mind. Actually, how do we gain more confidence and self-belief? Well, the way we do it is we have to see in advance what it is we want. Remember Major Nesmith, he saw in advance the way he wanted to play. By doing that, he played better. You do that, do some imagery. Take some holes on your golf course, train yourself to see yourself playing them, getting the outcome you want. Now, remember, he was smart. See yourself recovering from bunkers, recovering from rough, but don't see yourself hitting it in there. You understand the distinction? And then we looked at actually re-scrambling and rewiring your brain when you've got a trouble shot as well. So we've covered an awful lot of ground in, I'm trying to think where we're up to in time. I need my glasses to see. Yeah, we've gone over a little bit, but hopefully you're enjoying it. So we've covered an awful lot of ground. Now, I would love to would you just give me 5 more minutes of your time? I know we've gone over a bit, but 5 more minutes of your time. I'd like to share a one-time opportunity with you. This really will not be available for any more than a week now. There's something I created. I did something many, many years ago called Mind of a Champion. I asked you for permission. I don't know if you give me your permission because I can't see it, but I'm assuming you're saying, Scott, it's okay. You can have 5 more minutes of my time. Okay. So if that is okay, thank you very much. I'm now going to use those 5 minutes. I created something many years ago called Mind of a Champion, which was a very successful program, which was a one-day event where golfers came along from Ryder Cup players through to pretty much beginners actually came along to learn techniques of how to use their mind more effectively to get the results they wanted on the golf course and actually in life as well, because it has that natural crossover. Through the lockdown, I decided, obviously I can't do that live anymore, to reinvent that and upgrade it and update it, because I've not actually delivered that program for a while. And it's now become much bigger and much more extended. And we did a pre-launch on the back of a webinar actually at the end of the year. And we've had, I think, 55 people go through that pre-launch. And we're about now to open that up to the wider world. And that was due to start this week, but we've had delays. And actually, when I knew I was going to do this, we delayed it even longer. But I'd love to offer you, for supporting me on this webinar, supporting the things I'm involved in, whether it be Golf Kingdom, CGA generally, I'd like to give you the opportunity to join in with that one-time opportunity of a pre-launch special bundle. So I'd like to just quickly take you through that if I can. If it's of interest to you, that'd be fantastic. So let me just come back here and let me just bring up some information so you can see. Now, remember, I'm going to send you these slides as well, so you'll have all of that. Okay, so here's the offer. Now, first of all, what I should say, I said there's some people trialing already. Here's just a couple of things some of the people are saying. So Kalish Kalusa was saying, the amount of value that I found in this course is worth thousands of pounds that I've paid for other courses when it comes to mindset training. I've completed 7 modules, of which there are at least 3 more to go. This is what you call value overloaded. Ingrid Clark said, I can comment on every single module because they're also enlightening and informative. However, modules 7, 8, and 10 have been especially invaluable. I know now that my approach to my lessons, my game will be more positive. Overall, this course has been a superb investment, not just to golf, but life in general. Thanks so much. Okay, now, here's what you're going to get. There's a bundle we're putting together here, okay? So it's not just what you see here immediately. So you've got the Mind of a Champion, which is 10 modules. There's now actually 31 lessons in it because there's 30 before, but I added one the other day, which is all to do with actually how do you train your mind in this imagery process. There's 31 lessons in there. That now, I mean, if I was to work with you on a one-to-one basis, that would literally be, for the hours in that program, it would literally be thousands of pounds. So we're going to make that £297, but not today for you. That's going to be different now, okay? But that's not all you're going to get. So you get the full Mind of a Champion program. You're also going to get Intuitive Golf Online program. So you'll get the e-version of my Intuitive Golf book, but you also get 80 or more than 80 support videos to go with that book. So you can actually go through and see tips that I've created in the past that relate to that. So things like the circle swing, there's various tips in there, how to shape the ball, you know, different trajectories, that type of thing, including short game, including mental game tips. That's in one program. That program sells now at £97. You're going to get that included in this special bundle for you today. So then you're also going to get the membership to the private Facebook group that we've just started. The idea of that group is to support each other in helping you develop that mind of a champion to get the best out of your golf. I jump into that chat every now and then. If you've got questions for me, it's a great place to leave them. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the Mind of a Champion, the complete program. Okay, it's going to be selling at £297. You're going to get the Intuitive Golf program, which is 80 videos plus the e-version, the ebook version of my book, Intuitive Golf. And you're going to get access to the private Facebook group. That has a value of at least £421. But you can get that today by using the code CGA for just £97. So again, that link there, I'll make sure you get that link. The link, I'll try and put it in the chat so it's there. Just click on the link. You'll just be asked to set up an account, a basic account, and then you can go through and use the code CGA and you'll get it discounted down to £97. Okay. You've got unlimited access. There's no time restraints on it. It will be there for you to use it at your own pace whenever you want. But if you are serious about getting more confidence, if you're serious about improving your focus, if you're serious about dissolving some of the distractions that go through your mind that you know mess up your performance, then Mind of a Champion is everything you've been looking for. It really is a comprehensive program. It's almost taking the best of everything I've ever done on that area and throwing it into one program. And that's why you're seeing some of the testimonials already coming back. You've seen those. Another gentleman here, Bill Cooper. I'm finding the course of real value to me. The modules are very challenging and thought-provoking. I'm impressed by the layout and the clarity of the modules and the challenges they present. The information is presented in a clear format with enthusiasm. It's clear to me that following this course will really be a help to me and my game going forward. So there you go. That's the offer. There's the link. We'll make sure you got the link. I would love to have you on that program. It's going to be pretty much the last chance now to get into that value before it changes. This is a special bundle we've put together. If it's of interest to you, go ahead, click the link, create your account, go through, use the code CJ, and you'll get it at just £97. So that's the link you need to click. Do remember the code CGA to get your discount. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to come out of this and we're going to have a look quickly to see if there are any questions for me to go through. So just bear with me a moment.